Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome. Oh man, it has been such a long time. I am super happy to be here on tonight. It is Saturday night. We are among the living, and life is wonderful when you are living in purpose. Come on in. You are tuning to this special edition of the Ash Shelley Show. Make sure you share. We're going to be talking about mental health hygiene in men. I have an amazing guest tonight. We're going to have a candid conversation. So tag a man that needs to hear about this. We're talking about mental hygiene in men tonight. Such an important conversation, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be energized. So I'm asking you to share. Please go into the comment section. Let me know who you are, where you are tuning in from. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Shelly Fan. I am your emotional intelligence expert. I am the CEO and owner of Ash Shelley Consulting, and we are hosting a mental health conference on April 15th, right here in Orlando, Florida. And for those of you who are not local, guess what? Get your ticket now and meet us over at the Rosen Shingle Creek on April 15th, 9 to 5, an amazing, powerful one-day conference. And so, again, we are here tonight to talk about mental hygiene, mental health in men. Men hurt too, men cry too, men need help too. And you know what? It's so interesting because I was asked just about a week or two ago whether or not men could enroll for the conference. And for those of you, so many of you commented and messaged me after I posted the post that said, heck yeah, men can register too. They are welcome. Men, my brothers, you are encouraged to register. You are urged to register. And we are going to talk about why. Hello, for those of you who are tuning in, please go into the comment section. Let us know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Again, you are tuning into a special edition of the Ash Shelley Show. We have an amazing guest tonight. He's actually one of our speakers for the conference as well. And we're going to be talking about mental health in men. I would love for you to join in on the conversation. Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, Facebook. Go into the comment section. Let us know who you are, where you are tuning in from, and let's start the conversation. Guys, you are in for a treat. I knew that there was something about this man the very first time I ever heard him speak. And let me tell you what the connection was. Now, for those of you who've been following the Ash Shelley Show for the past 2 years, you know I will quote over and over again a man I consider my Superman. Well, guess what? He has gleaned and has been mentored by the same man. I'm talking about Dr. Miles Monroe. And because of that, listen, you're in for a treat because he comes full, because he understands just as I do that our goal in life should be to die absolutely empty. And this is why Christopher Hampton, Champ I Am himself, will be speaking at the Teach Me How to Heal, the Reframe Conference, April 15th, Rosen Shingle Creek Hotel, right here in Orlando, Florida. I am super excited. But you know what? We cannot bring up royalty without announcing exactly who we are about to hear from. So give me one moment while I pull up his bio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuning in, share. We are talking about mental health in men, mental hygiene in men. And I am asking you to share so we can get the word out. You never know whose line of sight, whose earshot this will fall in. And we are hoping to truly bring people to a place of wholeness and whole healing, wholeness, functionality, operating in purpose, abounding and prospering. It's not a lofty goal. It just takes awareness to really and truly understand what we need to do to be the greatest versions of ourselves. Let me see. Someone has commented. Go ahead and let me know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Dr. Rhonda, excited to be here. Thank you, Dr. Rhonda Wood, for tuning in. We love you. Can't wait to get you on too. Dr. Rhonda Wood is also one of our amazing speakers for the Teach Me How to Heal Reframe Conference. But tonight, we have Champ I Am himself. So give me a moment. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. And I hope my eyes don't fail me. All right, here we go. Award-winning international keynote speaker, leadership expert, best-selling author, and global leadership expert, Christopher C. Hampton is one of the most empowering, entertaining, and enthusiastic voices in speaking today, inspiring audiences with transformational principles for embracing greatness and success. He trains individuals, corporations, and organizations worldwide to overcome obstacles, pursue passions in life and purpose. Individuals and organizations around the world have been impacted by his message of unlocking your personal power. Through sharing his personal journey of discovering his potential, Christopher challenges his audience to embrace their next level personally and professionally with his unrelenting passion for helping individuals succeed. Christopher founded the Champ I Am organization, which provides strategies that challenge and motivate entrepreneurs and leaders to break out of their comfort zone and release their inner champ. Understand what a champ is. A champ is someone that does it despite the fear, does it despite the doubt, does it despite the opposition. A champ is someone that understands their purpose and goes forward in full throttle mode no matter what. They believe in themselves, and that's the only requirement. And so this is Champ I Am himself. He lives what he teaches, and this is why he's not just a motivational speaker. He is a transformational speaker. See, you could be a motivational speaker and motivate a whole entire audience and get them completely fired up, but not one person will change. Why is that? It is because we cannot take people to destinations we have not yet arrived. But Champ I Am has. He teaches what he applies to his own personal life, and he is sharing his time with us on tonight. So put your virtual hands together as we welcome himself, Christopher Champ I Am Hampton. Woo!
Woo! I gotta match that. Gotta get that energy going. I gotta match that energy right now. Okay, yeah, keep going. Gotta match that energy. Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody laughs about my old HP notebook, right? From like who knows what year. I love it. It still works for me, although it moves super, super slow. So I got this new MacBook and I couldn't log in today. I just couldn't figure it out. So I am so super apologetic to all of you who have been on since 8 o'clock waiting for us to go live. But guess what? We are here and we're going to get started. Mr. Champ I Am, tell us a little bit more about your brand.
Oh, wow. Like, Champ I Am is an evolution, I say. My brand came when I discovered that there was more in me than I even realized. It was a declaration of what I was capable of. And God's funny because my name is Chris and last name is Hamp. And people used to call me Hamp all the time. And they would just call me Hamp. And then my first initial was C. So that's where the Champ came from. And God was just like showing me that, hey, there's a champ. And a lot of times when we talk about champ, we have a savior complex, meaning I need somebody to save me. But what the revelation of myself was that I've been given everything that I need already on the inside of me to be able to do what I'm supposed to be doing and making the impact in this world that I'm supposed to be doing. My journey is to release the champ that's on the inside of me. So I have to cultivate that. I got to develop that, and I have to become that. And that's what my journey over the past 7 years since I've started this was basically developing and discovering that you are fearfully, wonderfully made. There is so much on the inside of that you are capable of doing. The I am portion was not only a personal affirmation, but a spiritual affirmation, because I believe that I've been created with God, by God, for purpose. on purpose. So I'm just didn't come out here, and out of all the millions of people that showed up on planet Earth, I am here for a purpose. But I'm in a partnership with the great I am. And that whenever I get to the point that the champ seems like he's about to fail, the I am always kicks in and brings me over. So champ I am has multiple definitions to it, multiple ways that you can come and receive it. But in the end, it's talking about releasing that champ that's on the inside of you. And you have to be able to be that first partaker of that first is the I am.
I love it. And I am so big on affirmations, and my clients know it so well. My high achieving clients that always tell me they don't have time absolutely hate it when I say, hey, let's do a journal review, because they always say they don't have time, or they don't have time to do their affirmations. Those are the two things that I require: journaling and daily affirmations, because I truly believe, and we know the word says that faith comes by hearing. We don't need to believe what it is we say. Your belief is not necessarily required, but your consistency is. And with that consistency, faith will come, and what you're saying will become your belief system. What was the catalyst for releasing Champ I Am? I know you kind of talked about how it kind of was always there with your initials, and then you added the affirmation at the end. Was there like that one thing that caused you to start this movement?
Yeah, I always stop at 7. I think it's been longer than that now. I think 2016, 17 was when I started this. But it started because I was living life, and just living life. And I was going to work. I was caught into that rat race, and I was just struggling just to live. And I wasn't poor. I've always had for what I need, but I was doing overtime. I was working a full-time job, and then working a night job as a security officer, and then being a full-time caretaker for my mom, and until she passed a few years ago. But here's what happened. One day on my night job, I was going home from work on my night job, and I felt something on the inside of my chest feel wrong. Something was not right with my heart. So I went to the emergency room, and I'm sitting in the emergency room. The cardiologist comes to me and says, well, Chris, you look like you had a heart attack. And I was like 37. So I was like, I wasn't old. I wasn't decrepit, didn't have any history of heart things. But you hear that, and there's two types of people that hear diagnosis. You hear these diagnoses, and then you say, oh, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to die. It was, no, you haven't done what you've been called to do. And it was myself speaking to myself, screaming out that you can't die because you didn't do what you're called to do. And then I start to have that conversation with myself, and it was a spiritual conversation. So I'm talking back to the creator, and creator's talking back to me. And I'm like, well, what are you called to do, Chris? You know what you're called to do. You're called to speak. And I'm like, well, nobody knows my name. Speak. Who's going to hire me? Speak. I felt like every excuse I could throw out there, and the response was speak. So what I did, I started to speak. I went where speakers spoke. I went to Toastmasters. And I went and I entered. Every time I introduced myself as a Toastmaster, I would say, my name is Chris Hampton, and I am a motivational speaker. This was before Champ I Am even came as a moniker or as a brand. And I said, I didn't say Chris Hampton, I want to be a speaker. I said, I'm Chris Hampton, I am a motivational speaker. And within 6 months, I became an award-winning Toastmaster speaker. I won 3 competitions where I was first place and second place in humorous. I didn't know it was funny until that, but humorous speaking and table topics, where we had that 1 minute to speak on things. And I was actually the top speaker in South Jersey, then went on to Pennsylvania and came in the top 3. So that's when I became an award-winning speaker within 6 months of me stepping out. So the journey of me just stepping out and stepping out and stepping out, from that point on, it's been a journey of me just stepping out. But I had to be confronted with my thinking, and we're going to talk about this during the course of what we're going to talk about today about mental health. Yeah. I had to change my thinking about how I saw myself before I could step out and do anything. But when I made that shift in my thinking that I'm more than just a caretaker, I'm more than just a worker, I'm more than just a husband, there's global impact on the inside of you waiting to hit. And it doesn't necessarily come in the package that you thought it should come into, but you are the package. And I had to learn that. I had to step out on that. And this journey over the past 7 years, been filled with promotions and elevations and favor and just education, because education is going to come as you step out into your own. And now you're seeing the result of a decision. And every day I decide to be that person that I've affirmed myself to be.
That you affirm yourself to be. I love it.
I've confirmed my affirmation.
Ooh. Okay, let's go back to that hospital room. So you're there and you're like, no, like I got so much more to do. That just gives me chills, but I'll get to that if we get to that, because that is like, oh my gosh, I can relate to that. So here you are, and you're in this hospital room and you're saying, I am not done. I am not done. How much did your mental health or lack thereof get you to that spot where you're sitting there in front of a doctor and getting a doctor's report that, is causing you to feel like, wait, I need to get it together? How much did your mental health get you to that spot?
Well, I guess because even when you're talking about, you got to say, when am I overworking myself? When am I doing more than I'm supposed to be doing? I felt like everything that I was doing, I had to do because situations had me there. I was doing, being a caretaker for my mom. And I learned in the being a caretaker for my mom that my mental health is important, because if I'm in a funk, I can't take care of her. If I'm in the wrong way, I can actually become abusive to my mom if I'm not taking care of myself, because I say, I'll forget all of y'all and then just leave her there. And you're like, well, how could you do that? Because you're not taking care of yourself. You got to feed yourself. You have to have a love bank for yourself. And what I mean a love bank is something that you're continually making. We talk about love banks for partners. And when we talk about having a partner love bank, you're always putting money, making deposits in that love bank for your partner. But you need to have a love bank for yourself.
Oh, I love that.
You're talking about that love bank for yourself, because what happens if you're making a withdrawal and depositing it into someone else's bank and you don't have anything to put back into yourself, eventually what happens is you have an empty bank, and then that person is full of your love, and then they end up walking away from you, and you have nothing left for yourself. So I had to start to be able to say, okay, in the midst of me being that caretaker, in the midst of me sacrificing for my family, even when I saw sometimes that my family didn't understand the pressure that was on me or the different things that were on me, at that time I was separated. So I was going through the emotional, trying to heal from an emotional situation of being separated and still discovering who I am in that situation. I was dealing with multiple pressures that were all life-changing pressures. But if I didn't stop to deal with me and realize I am important in this situation, my destiny is not going to happen unless I put my effort into it. And somewhere along the line, I have to make a deposit into my destiny, or I'm no good to the people that are around me. See, Champ I Am came in the point of my lowest point in my life. Here I am knowing I'm global impact, and I'm supposed to help other people. I'm supposed to help men and their families and how to connect with their family and be able to grow their family. But my family had fell apart. So here I am dying on one side, and then being put into positions where I am restoring life to other people. But in the midst of me doing that, I was able to find the greater picture of who I am. So it gave me an understanding of what I went through. And we talked about this before. Gave me the understanding of what I went through. So I'm not crying about the past. It gives me direction of what I'm going to, because in my present, because now I understand that was for a reason, and that I had to learn the bad traits of a husband. I had to learn the maturity of a man. I had to learn all those things in order for me to be able to now put those things back together. And it gives me direction in my present. And now it gives me wisdom for my future, because wisdom is the understanding of knowledge. So now I know how to properly use the information that I learned in my past and my present, and now I'm more effective going towards my future.
I can't write fast enough. Guys, wait. Wait. Don't give him too much, Chris. Don't give him too much.
We got so much we haven't even talked about. We haven't even got into
Well, we're getting there because you said something, and I'm gonna get you. You said something. Dr. Rhonda Wood says excited to be here. She says the champ is in the house. Yes, he is. Hello, Alkia. She says, gotta catch the replay and share this because it's so needed for our men. I agree. Share. Dr. Rhonda Wood, listen, that love bank, for those of you who are tuning in, number one, make sure you go into the comment section. Let us know who you are and where you are tuning in from. Number two, I want you to tell me, what's your love bank balance right now? What is your love bank balance right now? You're going to say low, medium, or overflowing, right? Mm-hmm. Low, medium, or overflowing. I want to know what your love bank balance is. Champ I Am says you got to make deposits into your love bank. And guess what? He didn't say this. Because he talked about making deposits in other people's love bank. But there is nothing like the deposit that you make into your own love bank account. I hope you were okay with me adding that. I'll give you the flames. Yes, honey.
I'm just saying right now, it's funny that you said this whole entire conversation is a hygiene thing. Like, we didn't talk about that. But I've been waiting to talk about this hygiene thing for a while. Mental hygiene, not only for men, but women too. But mental hygiene is something. Every day we wake up and we wash our face, brush our teeth.
I knew you were going to go there. Come on now.
Listen, every day we wake up, we put our deodorant on, and we take a lot of time. I know how men are. We take a lot of time in how we look and making sure we smelling good, looking good for that date, looking good for that person, looking good for the job, looking good. Why? For the state of looking good. Because when you have personal hygiene, we're talking about personal hygiene, it's intentional. And there's something mentally wrong when there's someone that disconnects from mental and everyday living type things like mental hygiene, right? Most of us, because we don't understand the importance of our mental in our mental attitude, we are neglecting the hygiene. And hygiene is intentional. So we're supposed to mentally brush our teeth, mentally massage our mind, mentally make time for ourselves, meditation, prayer, declarations, confirmations. All these things are verbal because it's allowing you to massage your mental. It's there to build in that mental. Every time you're doing, what you focus on is what you become. So if you're not focusing on your mental side, and because we're not trained and we're in our communities, we're not talking about this as a hygiene thing. We're going to talk about the hygiene. We're also going to talk about the fear of therapy and all that stuff and the overrides of that. But, as a hygiene thing, it's intentional. And right now, your mental breath stinks. Are we going Pentecostal now? Here I am.
Wait. You gotta say. You have to say. You better say that again, Champ I Am.
Your mental.
Your mental breath stinks. Is that what you just said?
Yes, because when you look at halitosis is something in your gut's not right. And because you let all that stuff fester on the inside of you, it's got to come out.
Woo!
You see it come out in your emotions. You see it come out in your everyday interactions. You got people that are in a permanent mental funk. They're just nasty just because they're nasty, but they're nasty for a reason. They're not taking care of this. And in church, we talk about the spirit, but the spirit it flows with your mind. It's directed by your mind. Otherwise, the spirit would tell us what to do all the time and we would do it. But if we don't have proper thinking and proper belief systems about how we think and how we interact with each other, you're going to find out you're missing and you're lacking and you're decaying on the inside. And we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this. Men, we need to talk about this. I'm here to talk to men about this because we need to be intentional in that, just like we go to the gym. Listen, I hit 47 this year, so I'm looking at it's harder It's harder to get this weight off. It's harder to do certain things. And if I'm not intentional, my body will take over and start to go in wrong directions. My pressure will go in a different direction. It'll go in the areas that I'm predisposed to go into. There's certain risk factors that I have in my life mentally that if I don't watch it, I'm predisposed to become a certain thing. There's certain mental things that are on your back that you are predisposed of doing. You don't want to be like your father. You don't want to be like the father that was not there.
Go. Talk about
If
it.
you're not intentional about it, you're predisposed to repeat the behavior that you've been introduced to all of your life. So that's going to take it's going to take intentional you putting your hands on your mind and saying, I will not be a deadbeat dad. I will not give up on my family. I will not walk away from my children. I'm going to be the one that's going to be a blessing to my children. I want to be able to create generational wealth. All those things are intentional, but they're mindsets. And if you're not making the time for it, you're going to suffer in the end. So I hope I'm not taking too much time in saying that, but that's
No,
what
no, you are not. I'm gonna highlight some nuggets that you said, and there was, I know that we're talking about mental health and mental hygiene in men. Guys, listen, if you haven't yet, share. Let your friends know, let your family members know, let your spouse, your friend, your boyfriend, your sister, your auntie, uncles, let them all know they need to tune in. This is a candid conversation about mental hygiene. And let me just recap for those of you who are just joining some of the things that our guest today. So this is Champ I Am. You got to watch the replay for the bio. Some of the things that were said already. What you focus on is what you become. That's a whole nother 2-hour show. Okay. So what you focus on is what you become. Champ I Am talked about a love bank and the importance of us making deposits into our own love bank. I love this, guys. You may have missed it, but he said that he released Champ I Am when he was at one of the most lowest points of his life. And so I want those who are waiting for that right time, that perfect time for the resources to look just the way they need to look. You're waiting for your bank account to look like just a certain way. You are waiting for your social capital to look like just a certain way. Understand, there is no perfect time to start. Your perfect time to start is right now because you are already fully resourced to do everything that God has called you to do. And you have to understand that that is how it works. The decision comes first, the provision comes after. Most of us are waiting for the provision to come before the decision, and it doesn't work that way. This man released a movement when he was at the lowest point of his life. Allow that to encourage you. He talked about wisdom is the proper application of knowledge. Do you understand that? You could take knowledge and apply it in the wrong way and operate outside of wisdom. Wisdom is the proper use, the not only the proper application, but applying it at the right time. That is what wisdom is. And when he was talking about hygiene, comparing mental hygiene to physical hygiene, listen, my teeth don't brush themselves. I don't know if yours do. And if it does, let me know what it is about your lifestyle, what it is about your anointing that allows that to happen. But the last I checked, we have to actually go into the shower. We actually have to scrub off the dirt. We actually have to be intentional about our physical hygiene, and our mental health hygiene is the same. And he went there and said that most of us are operating with mental bad breath. Is that what you said? Like your mental breath is bad because you are not being intentional about your mental health hygiene. What I wanted to come back to, you said this, Chris. You said that you reached a point in your life where you had to learn the maturity of a man. Mm-hmm. I really need you to go into that more, because I could only imagine that with all of your other mental health matters that you were dealing with, being a man and whatever that means, right? Because that means different to different people, that it
Mhm.
may have added just another layer to your challenges. Talk about it.
Well, there's certain stresses that we come as a man, so we can't, like right now. If I was to share about some of the thoughts that, from a male point of view, you probably think, well, that's what I go through too. Man up, trigger, man up. We're gonna talk about, but we say like this. We're talking about to be that man, and it's like, well, there's no manual about what being a man is, and what's confusing in this society today, wherever you lie politically or whatever you lie with your mentality, they're trying to basically take out what a man is and demasculate what a man is. So we're discovering as while we are moving what manhood means to us and what it means. And a lot of times the reflection of manhood that we saw was the reflection of the man that was in our life. So you
Wow.
asked me what the definition of maturity is. The definition of maturity to me is when you know what is right to do and you do it. That's the difference between someone who is mature and someone who is immature. The person who knows what to do and they choose not to do it, that's the definition of immaturity. It's simply. So as a man, I'm learning things, and I'm learning things about myself. I remember, like I said, marriage will show you how mature you really are. When you got, so when I got married, I thought I was mature, but I was immature. Okay. I had a different view. I had a wrong view of what marriage was because I was just totally in la la land thinking that it was supposed to be a certain thing that it wasn't. And maturity had to be able to learn was I was constantly being put into situations that showed me a greater depth of who I was that no one ever showed me how to maneuver through. So you look at me right now, and I laugh, I'm smiling, I'm doing all that, but I didn't know that I could be angry. I didn't know that I could be angry. And being in a blended family, I had to try to lead a blended family that didn't want me to lead. And my wife and I weren't on the same page because now it's her wife and she's trying to advocate for the children and I'm trying to advocate for me at the same time. And I'm thinking I need certain graces. But I was going through that and I was dealing with seeds of rejection in my own life. So I'm coming to terms with my inadequacies in the midst of a marriage, which now is being magnified. It all ties back to my psyche on how I'm dealing with things. Finding out that the best knowledge that I knew, it wasn't working. That made me respond a certain way. I realized there was parts of me that I needed to mature in. And I was not going to be out of that cycle until I learned how to deal with my anger, what my triggers were. So my trigger was disrespect. So when I felt as a man I was disrespected, then I didn't know what to deal with that rushing, overwhelming emotion of anger. And because I'm hyperverbal, my anger doesn't show with me beating somebody down. My anger shows in my words. And now my defense mechanism come in, and I can cut up a situation and be like, "Hey, I can cut you down verbally and not think twice about it." But a mature man learns that those are his weaknesses and makes room for that and makes room that he can heal. So along the way in my life, part of that, when you talk about hygiene, is there's certain types of hygiene that you can't do by yourself. Like if we talk about the mental halitosis, but just like regular halitosis, there's certain things that you need to go to a dentist to get that stuff to get them deep cleaning for. And you see, with men, we have an we don't like doctors, and we definitely don't like someone who's a psychotherapist coming around, peeking up in there, and then dancing around in our insecurity, right? But just like that dentist is a doctor for cleaning, we have to change the way that we market our therapists. We need to really call them mental advocates because a real therapist is a mental advocate.
I
They're there
love
to
that.
help you to speak. They're there to represent those that cannot speak for themselves. And sometimes when you're in therapy as a man, you don't know how to verbalize the pain that we fit because there's really no clear place that in society that makes room for us to share our heart. And
Why is that? Why do you
well,
think that is?
it's societal. It's the way that we are trained culturally, wherever your culture is. So, one of the things I learned in marriage was I kind of shared this with my wife the other day. When we first got married, came off the honeymoon, and my wife was like, we came in the house and the house was flooded. The basement was flooded because the furnace broke. So not only did I have to deal with a financial issue, I got to deal with an issue that I wasn't prepared to deal with. And I shared with her, and I said, she said, well, what are we going to do about it? And I was like, I don't know. Now, take that scenario. My newly wife is now married to this man. And he says to her, I don't know. Now, in a man's mind, I'm like, I'm working this out in my head. Like, in my head, I'm working it out. But I just told her, I don't know. And I didn't know. I was being honest. I thought that I could rest in my security of saying, oh, I got my boo thing here, and she'll be able to handle that. But in her side, there was a whole trust and security thing that I just stomped all over and didn't even realize I stomped all over. So in my side, I'm like, well, how do I share with my wife my insecurities if she can't handle it? And it comes back to a trust issue.
Wow.
Who do I talk to? Where do I lay my head down? Because now I thought that it was a partnership, and with partners you can share everything with. And I realized that you really couldn't share everything. Who do you talk to? How do you walk through that? And that's a pressure that we have because you have an expectation from you. Your wife has an expectation from you. You can't tell me that a woman does not have an expectation from her man to be something.
Well,
so there's an expectation that we got to have our stuff together. So we think that in the world, we fight in the world during our daytime job to make sure that we have our stuff together in person. Then we come home, and to a level, we have to have our stuff together there. And when do we get a chance to take that armor off? And this is from a male point of view. So you ask for a man to talk, I'm talking. I'm sharing some of our secrets. Okay.
I love it.
We have that. And hopefully you're hearing this from the women who love us to be able to say, okay, it positions me to understand. It permissions me to give him some grace. It permissions me to give him some space. Because we have ways of dealing with our mental issues and our mental deficiencies, because we do talk to each other. We do talk to other people. We do talk to our boys. We do talk to trusted people. We have ways. Now, there are some people that don't have those things, and I think you need to make room for that. We do. The reason why men sometimes go to the gym is to work off of some of that energy. So if you're constantly beating down on that man and being able to say, you're in an argument and he wants to walk away, let him walk away. Because if he walks away, if he stays in your presence, what he's doing is he's sucking in that energy. And he has nowhere to release it. So if he gets to go to the gym to release it, let him go to the gym, release it. But I also think a counselor or a mental advocate or a therapist is there to help you to be able to walk through that. Because when I went through therapy, I realized my personality is I'm that guy that's the gap filler. I'm that one that's always coming in and trying to make peace. I'm that one in the family that just wants everybody to get along. So I'm not the black sheep. I'm the one that's trying to help everybody. And what happens is the helper person, I learned this, the helper person is so busy helping other people and giving out to other people that they forget to take care of themselves.
That's it.
I heard the other day we were talking, because we're having another mental conversation about the artist of Twitch that passed away from suicide. And they were talking about, when I was listening to them talk about him, they were like, he was so concerned about what was going on out there that his voice was not being heard, or he was sharing, but he felt so much in that he kept some of that inside, and what happened was, if you leave stuff that's on the inside of you untouched for so long, it becomes too much of anything can harm you. It becomes detrimental. Wow. Your purpose. There's a Bible proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick.
That's it.
And some of us have been, and you're like, well, Chris, I'm female, and I'm going through the same thing. We are going through the same thing, but we're handling them differently.
Say that again. We are
We're
going through the same
same
thing. Say
thing,
that again.
but we're
Yes.
handling it differently. And what we need to do is realize that this is an area that we need to talk about more. Because to say that you gave up on life is saying that I've given up so much of myself that I don't have anything else to give, and I feel like they really don't appreciate what I gave anyway. So what I got is undervalued. What I'm giving is still undervalued. And when I don't have a greater purpose of where I'm going to, it feels like I'm just living to be living. And that's what we want to do. We want to, with the conference that we're talking about, we want to reframe that. You need to reframe how you see yourself.
That's right.
Reframe that picture, man. There's so much on the inside of you that your family needs you, even though you think that they don't. But when you're gone, they're going to miss you.
Earlier, you said man up. That's a trigger.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to hear you share your perspective on that phrase that is said so often.
I don't know if it's a black thing or it's a single mom thing or wherever it comes from. It comes from a place of hurt. Um, we hear that man up phrase. It's like, you tell me if you've seen this. Oh, I want my man to be emotionally there for me. I want him to care for me. But then when he tries to show that those emotions, man up. It's like, look, oh, let me get back into my place. That it puts us back to a position of attention. It shakes us. And it also tells us that we can't be vulnerable with you.
Ooh.
You want emotional availability, but you can't handle the bulk of who we are. Again, we put that guard up. Just like I hear a lot of women talk about the mask that you put on. Well, there's a uniform that we put on. And we've been trained to wear this uniform. And when you say man up, that's an attention mood. You see how my body just shakes when you say that. And that's what happens when a man hears that all of him is just, stop what you're doing, you're wrong. How do we show our emotions? You see, one of the fallacies I hate that's out there about men is they say women are emotional, but men are egotistical. That statement is so false.
I reject that. Yeah, go ahead.
False on so many levels because you relegated me to my ego, my id, how I see myself. But the emotions are triggered. And I'm saying that if you don't have a proper understanding of who you are and you're led by your emotions, you are very destructive. You are very destructive. You are egotistical and you're emotional, and you need to have intentionally work on both of them. Because there are many men that are in prison right now because they were led by their emotions. So we're here again to throw that word out there. We got to reframe how we see ourselves, men. We got to reframe on when we need to be able to say, yes, we need healing too. What does healing look like? I'm not saying we have to be in a huddle circle and we crying all day long. That's not how we do it. Even though men cry, we have a good cry. And I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I can cry when I get to those points when I'm broken. But we need to be able to create safe places that you can do that and be able to show the inner part of your emotions and not be relegated to be called effeminate because you have an emotional place. And that's where you have a safe community of men that you can fellowship with and that you can share and be able to have. You have to have somebody that can sharpen your iron. But in order to sharpen your iron and be able to keep you accountable, there has to be a level of vulnerability that comes to that healing. You can't be vulnerable. You can't receive that healing unless you are, one, become vulnerable who you are. And you can't become vulnerable unless you trust the person that you're with. So I'm not telling you to go to everybody and tell your life story.
Right.
Go to a trusted person that would know that they have your back and that they know that they're going to give you the right information. Because some people that you trust, they're not going to give you the right information. You got to make sure that they're going to encourage you to handle this the right way. Don't go to your people and say, well, your wife is tripping. You need to leave all them. No, that's not, you have that girl say, oh, man, he ain't never going to be right for you. He ain't going to, you have that, you go to the wrong people giving you the wrong information. What happened?
Yeah.
You got to find people that you trust, that they've walked, I think one of the best things in my marriage that I had was when I was separated, I went to live with one of my elders. And one of my elders was there, and my elder and his wife, and I watched him, and I watched how he prayed over his family. I watched how he lived with his wife. And he told me something even about marriage that helped me, and he called it the playpen principle. He said, I don't harp over everything my wife did. My wife has a personality to her. He's like this lieutenant colonel in the Middle Air Force. And his wife is just like the total opposite of just energetic out there. She pushes the boundaries. And, as a man, no one ever talked about how we're supposed to cover our wives, right? And he gave me this great scenario I took it with me for the rest of my life, but I'm going to share it tied to it. I'm going to share it with you because someone needs to hear this. And he said, you know what? I treat my wife like this. I give her the playpen principle. She has all the playpen. She has that area that she can play with. But we know that when she hits a borderline, that's when I come in there. The problem is if I'm harping on my wife all the time, she won't recognize the border when the border's there. And that's a great thing to teach for your children, your relationships. Everything doesn't have to be, but we're not trained on how to handle situations when it comes to interrelational. But that changed my whole entire view on how I deal with things, because I don't have to be right on every little thing. Have you ever seen that person in a relationship that's just on the back of the person?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes.
You're like, I can't breathe. Because every time you're talking to me, I'm doing something wrong. I had to learn how to be able with my wife to be able to say, okay, she's a creative. Boom. If it ain't gonna kill us, I won't say it. But when I learned that principle, and I'm like, now that when I say, hey babe, you know what? I think you need to be mindful of that bar. She now listens. Because she can hear the difference. Now, what did I learn from that? I gave you multiple nuggets on that. But what I learned from that was it was being able to be with someone who was where I wanted to be. His marriage was where I wanted to be. So I found a couple that was living the life that I wanted to be, and I submitted myself to the wisdom of that couple. So you might not go to a therapist at first, but that's the first step of getting help. That's finding people that are where you want to be, in the positive place that you choose to be, and learn from them. You still need to see a mental count. I call mental advocates. I'm not going to call you psychologists or therapist because I think it sounds better. You should, because you think about psychiatry thinking they're in there and Dr. Frankenstein's in your head. When I think about the mental advocate, I really like to say, listen, they're there to advocate for you, and you need to go see somebody and see a good one. So I hope that you hear my heart on that, because a lot of things that we're stressing about, you're not complaining, you're actually just sharing. And the doctor will let you sit there and talk. A good therapist will let you just sit there and just let you get it out. And sometimes you never had a chance to just get it out because you always had your armor on. Sit down on the couch, take your armor off, and just start to share from an authentic place. That's the beginning. And then they'll walk you back through the areas that you did wrong. And they won't necessarily tell you what you did wrong. They won't let you say, well, does that look right? No. They're going to confront your thinking. And again, when we can't change our behavior till we change how we see ourselves. We can't change how we see ourselves till we change how we think. Churches try to teach you to change your behavior. But even the church, even the Bible says, he said, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed. But by the renewing of your mind, conformity come from your behavior change. It comes from a mind change. It comes from you constantly renewing your mind on how you see yourself. Listen, man, how are you looking at yourself now? What are some toxic areas in your life that you've been hiding under the armor, but you don't know how to yield, and you don't know how to give that up? I think it's time for us to have that reframed conversation.
You said something earlier. Oh my gosh. First and foremost, guys, Champ I Am is one of the speakers at the Reframe conference. So it's Teach Me How to Heal, the Reframe conference. And we were super intentional, very, very specific about what we are calling this conference. You know, I knew of a woman who used to specialize in framing, didn't know that was a thing. It's a thing, Chris. It's actually a thing. You can take a very low cost, cheap, whatever words you want to use, picture and put it in an amazing frame, and it increases the value of that cheap, worn out, low cost picture. Reframing is very powerful. A lot of the times, we don't necessarily need our situation to change. We need our thoughts and our mindset to be reframed. And that's what makes the situation change. The situation changes because you see it differently. And that's what this conference is about. I see here that we have, oh, let me highlight some of the comments. You got some, woo, you got people like, I can't write fast enough. Yes, 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 yes. Let's see. We have Dr. Rhonda. She loves the love bank idea. Thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda, for tuning in. Alkia says, "Whoo, you spoke a mouthful. You said a mouthful." Yes, he did. I was trying to keep up. I was trying to keep up. Dr. Rhonda says, "Too many nuggets being dropped. I can't keep up." She says, "Yes, we don't want our love bank to be in the negative." Alkia comments exactly. Come on, somebody. Yes, he did take us to church, backed up things from a psychological perspective, and then brought it to the word and right back to the natural. Absolutely love, love, love it. Intentionality. Yes, thank you so much, Alkia. She says she shared it about 6 times. Woo, most men are triggered when disrespected. You know, they say that the overall, and not to stereotype because that's not healthy either, but overall, when you're looking at from a grand point of view, and I guess this is another point of discussion or debate, that the greatest need that a woman has is safety, and that's personal safety, emotional safety, physical safety, where respect is the largest or greatest need of a man. Now, I guess we can debate that, but it is definitely in line with what you said earlier, Champ I Am, about respect and the importance of that. Proverbs 13:12 NIV says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Yes, Dr. Rhonda says submit to wisdom. That is something that's really important. I talk about the lack of safety that so many women feel when it comes to submission. And listen, when I was going through my healing process, one of the mindsets or one of the destinations that I arrived that was evidence of healing is when I honored and no longer saw submission as something that was a threat. I actually got to a point where I realized that my submission was the greatest gift that I can give to a man in all of my beauty and power and authority and royalty. For me to submit to the leading of a man, for me to submit to the priesthood of a man was the greatest gift that I can give to him. And so I changed my mind about submission being a weak thing or surrendering to some form of abuse. The devil is a liar. I do want to say,
Can I share to that too? To
yeah,
that
yeah,
point too?
absolutely.
Because I think we have to really, and that's great that you're sharing that from a woman's side of you. But the Bible says that we are to submit to one another. So that's not a woman thing. It's a trust thing.
Thank
So
you.
when you look at it, we try to make that say submit to your husband. Well, no, we have to submit to each other. And when you in the act of submission is an act of trust.
I'm putting the
And the
fire out.
reason we're like the act of submission is an act of trust, meaning that I have to let my guard down to submit to my wife. My wife is the wisdom in my family, and therefore I look to her to give me wisdom about life too. She looks at me as a wisdom person, and we have to be able to trust each other. And that's what the journey is. And the journey in a relationship is the journey of I'm learning to trust you. I'm learning to submit with you. Sexual intimacy is all about what? Trust.
Right.
You can't be with somebody you don't trust.
Right.
So it's a submitting yourselves to one another. And we look at it as when you look at submission as an authoritarian concept, then you begin to see that you're a dominating presence. And that's not dominion, because even when we submit to God, it's voluntarily.
That's right.
It's not a demand. He doesn't want your demand. That's a slave. There's no slaves here. So he wants you to submit voluntarily to the will. So our example. A problem is a lot of times is because we have the wrong viewpoint. It's been taught to us the wrong way, that we don't really see the value of it, or we start to build in hurt defense mechanisms around it. So when you look at submission, and I come and talk about submission, and if I don't define submission in the first 30 seconds of me saying it, automatically you're closed off because of your definition of what submission means. But men, we are to be a servant leader to our family. The best leader in the world is the one that serves. And to serve means that you're submitting yourself for the greater good of the family, meaning that you want to make sure that they eat first. I know that we had it the other way around, and we say, listen, I'm the man, so I want to make sure my woman makes the plate for me first. We don't, nowadays women don't cook as much, so it's like, no, just saying. But just saying.
Hold up.
No, I'm just playing.
You were doing real good.
No, but that old way of saying that my wife is first. But really, it's a matter of, hey, if I was really good, I want to make sure my wife is taken care of first.
Come on.
And if I'm doing that, I want to make sure she eats first. Why? Because I'm the servant leader. And it actually becomes a competition of how you're going to serve each other. That could be your thing. But when you have an unhealthy view of service, an unhealthy view, that all ties back to your mentality. It all ties back to your mental health. Because if you have a toxic view of servanthood, because how you've been raised and how you've been looking and how you surround yourself, it comes out of you sick. It comes out of you perverted.
Yes. Ooh.
And this isn't even what I'm talking about on the Reframe conference. This is just the primer. That's the reason why I said we had to have this conversation.
Yes.
And we have to make sure, because men, I'm just hoping that y'all show up, brothers. And this is when I say brothers, this is my multinational brothers, white, black, Hispanic, all of y'all. Y'all my brothers. And these are issues that are hitting us. And we need to take the time to learn how to still ourselves. So I think you have meditation. You need to tell about all the benefits of having these detox rooms that we're going to have, and be able to have maybe have a room just for the men, so we can be able to let our guard down for a little bit. Listen, men, you need to make a deposit in yourself. You need to be there so that she can change up her whole order to accommodate the men that we're there, that we can have some stuff that we can do while we're there. Do not leave me in the room to meditate by myself. All right. I want some brothers in there that we can talk about, and we can commune with each other and be able to share some truth to each other. Because there's only some things that we're going to share when brothers are in the room.
Now, you heard it from Champ I Am. Don't leave him alone. Don't leave him alone, fellas. Look what you did, Champ I Am. Derek Paris says, women don't cook it all anymore.
That's another conversation for another day. No, my daddy told me I can cook. Chris can cook. My dad said, listen, you better learn how to cook, because there's one less thing you need your woman to do is cook. So I learned how to cook. But every now and then it's nice to have a meal, man.
And he cooks too. Derek Paris says, I enjoy cooking. I got a private message. Someone sent me a text message, wanting to know, do you have any single brothers or cousins?
Listen, family is weird. They're not all gonna turn out like me.
I know, right? It doesn't happen like that. I get it. You know what, guys? Listen, you just got a little taste of what Champ I Am is going to bring for the Reframe Conference. And again, it's on April 15th at the Rosen Shingle Creek. Go to www.teachmehowtoheal.com. Again, that's www.teachmehowtoheal.com and register. We have an early bird special going on right now. It ends on Valentine's Day. You can get $100 off by buying your ticket today. So run to teachmehowtoheal.com. And just the way, Champ I Am talked about earlier, we're going to have an amazing lineup. We have motivational speakers coming in. We have professional doctors, psychologists, trauma experts, tapping experts, you name it, that are going to be talking on the main stage. Our attendees are going to be given the opportunity to break out into a healing session. And we have 5 different breakout sessions that you can choose from. One is hypnosis, that is available to VIPs only. We have 4 additional breakouts. Stress and anxiety is another. Overcoming depression is another. Trauma is the third. And self-love, like literally learning the practical skills associated with self-love. And you're going to be with these professionals teaching very practical skills for a little over an hour. And you're going to get to decompress in one of 4 rooms: one art therapy, another for dance, another aromatherapy with meditation, and the 4th one is yoga. You don't want to miss it. It's a total, complete mental health experience. And we invite our men, we invite our women. Run to teachmehowtoheal.com and register today. Champ I Am, tell us your service. What is it that you do, and where can people find you?
You can find me on Champ I Am. It's CHAMPIAM.org. So that's where you can reach me at. I'm a conference speaker as well. I just started coaching, so now's the time to get into our coaching community that we're doing and sharing, and that's one-on-one. So one of the things I'm doing right now is showing you how you live your life on purpose. So I talk about purpose, I talk about vision, I talk about the passion, I talk about the problem and the solution. And during our time together, you're going to be able to write that out and be able to, whatever your path is, whether you're starting your business, getting that family right, I'll be able to show you by the time we're through our 3rd session how to make that and manifest that. So if you want to learn more about those coaching opportunities and you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me. My email is champton, CHAMPTON @champiam.org. And I would love to just be able to talk with you in those one-on-one sessions while they last, because one-on-ones are going to be a little bit more intimate. And after a while, we're going to open it up to the group. So get into these one-on-ones while we can work it out, and then get it. You also have access to our group community, which is the Champ I Am network, which we're growing now. So as we start to grow in our groups, you're going to have access to that community of positive minded people that are about building life on purpose. And you have to be able to see that you're not that much different than everybody else.
Tell me one more time that email address so I can get it on the screen for those who want to just.
The email address is C as in Charlie, Hampton, like the hotel, at champ, CHAMPIAM.org.
All right, I think I got that. Great. So for those of you who want to connect to our guest, you can connect with him at champam.org. He is an amazing leader, authentic leader, an amazing coach, and as you saw for yourself, and a transformational speaker. He's among an amazing lineup. I'm telling you, we prayed on this thing, and we fasted on this thing, and we waited for God to show us who was going to put their holy hands on a microphone to assure that every attendee gets a double dose of what they need. So again, run to teachmehowtoheal.com and register today. Chris, if you have one more thing to say to our men that are watching, one last nugget, go ahead and we'll close.
I listen. Some of you might not be actually dealing with depression right now. You're dealing with thoughts of suicide. You're dealing with, I want to give up. I want to walk out. I want to burn the whole house down. If you're feeling like that, that's the time where I need you to take a breath right now. And I just need you to center yourself and just say, I need help. And it's okay to say, I need help. And like I said, if you need that time where you can say, brother, I feel it, I need it, reach out to another brother that's stronger, that we can bear each other up and build a community of strong men, mentally clean, hygienic men. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on life, because the world will miss you if you're gone. So again, my name is Chris Hampton, Champ I Am, and I'm here to help if you need it.
Thank you again for giving us your time, sowing your time, your talent, your treasure. I mean, we got a double dose, we got a triple dose, we got a quadruple dose tonight. Thank you so much, guys. You got to catch the replay and share, 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 share. We are super excited about the conference April 15th. Teach Me How to Heal, the Reframe Conference. Run to teachmehowtoheal.com. Register today. Take advantage of the early bird special, and we will see you on April 15th. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in.